Hey everyone. So today I thought it would be nice to kind of go through my Origins Wrapped, all my statistics and everything, all the stats that I've taken for all my games. As you can see here, I tracked every single game or single set that I played from when I first started playing. Obviously, I was a little bit more better at taking the notes, and then I got kind of lazy, but I still kept track of all my statistics, all my matches that I played over all of Origins. So I thought it'd be nice to kind of go over all the stats and just give you guys a sneak peek behind the scenes for my total win rates for my Victor and other lists. So I attended 37 Nexus Nights, and I attended 11 Summoner Skirmishes. I went 4-1 at one Nexus Night. That one was a Nexus Night that we were playing for a overnumbered Kaisa, so there were a lot of people that showed up, and it was a 5-round Swiss. So I ended up getting third, second-ish at 4-1. So unfortunately didn't win that one. I went 3-0 11 times, I went 2-1 21 times, and then I went 1-2 4 times. I attended 11 Summoner Skirmishes, I won 4 of them. These Summoner Skirmishes had 8, 12, 25, and 26 players. The first skirmish that I ever won was 26 players. I had 1 second place, 3 third places, 1 fifth place, 1 7th place out of 12 players, and that was definitely my worst placement out of all my Summoner Skirmishes. And then I had 1 11th place, and that 11th place was out of 78 players, and I was the highest placing Victor. So I think it was a pretty decent result, but it could have been better for sure. Decks played. So I played Ahri at 2 Nexus Nights with 5 total matches. One of them, the reason it was 5 and not 6 is because I had a bye for one of them. So I went 2-1 at my first Ahri Nexus Night, and I went 1-2 on my second Nexus Night. But the second Nexus Night, I got a bye. So I basically went 2-3, had a 40% win rate with Ahri. Those were just for fun because I was getting bored with Victor. And then everything else was Victor. So 163 total matches with Victor, 123 wins and 39 losses for a match win rate of about 75.5%. I think I did the math earlier today. It was 75.46% match win rate. So I'm like super happy with the match win rate on Victor. And I guess the stats kind of speak for themselves. But yeah. My most played matchup, fun fact, is also my lowest win rate matchup, which really sucks. My most played matchup was Kaisa, Victor Kaisa. I had 18 wins and 15 losses. What sucks is like a lot of those losses were like recent. My win rate was a lot higher. I think my win rate was like 63% at some point, and then I lost. I've been like 1-4 against Kaisa recently. It's like absolutely miserable. So my win rate has dropped down to 55%. I think this Kaisa matchup is like winnable for Origins Victor. It's definitely difficult, especially for my list. The thing that I was struggling the most with was anytime a Kaisa resolved Sprite Mother, I would not win that game. I have never won a single game where the Kaisa played a single Sprite Mother, and for some reason a bunch of Kaisas in my area were starting to run Sprite Mother in their sideboards. So games 2 or 3, if they ever drew it, I would just instantly lose. I think I played probably 8 total games in which Kaisa had played a single Sprite Mother, and I lost all of them. So it's pretty brutal. I'm like pretty comfortable with my list now, playing against Kaisa lists that don't run Sprite Mother. I find those matchups actually to be quite winnable, and my win rate for those are like pretty solid. It's just when they start putting in Sprite Mother, it's pretty brutal. So this is my most played matchup, and this is also my lowest win rate matchup with a 55% total match win rate. My highest win rate matches. So I have 6 decks here that I have 100% win rate against. Most notably is Misfortune Aurora. This matchup is completely unwinnable for Misfortune, and it shows in the stats. I have 9 wins, 0 losses, 0 draws. Misfortune, 5 games in the Jinx, 4 games in Leona, 2 games in Lee Sin, 1 into Lux, and 1 into Volibear, with 100% win rate for all of them. Obviously, Jinx and Lee Sin are decks that newer players are going to be running because of the structure decks, but there, you know, occasionally will be dedicated Lee Sin players, and I played against one of them, and it was actually like surprisingly difficult, but I won anyways. So these are the decks that I have a 100% win rate against. This is the rest of my matchup spread, and it's sorted by like total number of matches I played against them. So 33 matches against Kaisa with a 55% win rate, 23 matches against Annie with a 70% win rate, 17 matches against Victor with an 88% win rate. Notably, one of those wins is a best of 1, and one of those losses is a best of 1. So if you consider only best of 3, I'm 14 and 1, which is like, I don't know, like 94% win rate or something like that. But yeah. Victor into Ari, I had 13 games with a 77% win rate. Victor into Master Yi, I had a 69% win rate. Victor into Set had an 83% win rate. Victor into Darius had a 75% win rate. Victor MF had a 100% win rate. Victor Yasuo had an 89% win rate. And Victor Timo had a 67% win rate. So overall, I think my win rates are really, really, really solid. The only notable one that is like surprisingly low is Victor Timo, and that's just because I have like a really, really, really good Timo player in my area, and I think our win rates against each other is 3-3. I think we're dead even on the Victor Timo matchup. He is super, super solid. I've beaten all the other Timos that I played against, so it's a little bit of an outlier just because we have a Timo specialist who's super, super good at the game. And then below is just the other 100% win rate matches that I've had. This is my ending deck list. It's like I'm like pretty happy with where it ended up. I haven't changed it in about 3 or 4 weeks that I haven't changed it. There are like some considerations that I would think about, but you know, I'll talk about those in a second. First of all, it's Yellow Victor. I'm running 2 Seal of Unities. I talked about a little bit in the deck list video that I made a while ago. 3 really breaks your hands, and you don't need a seal on the board to be competitive. So there's not really a reason to run more than 2. Like realistically, you don't need seals. It just has the high roll potential with Vanguard Captain, and you do end up spending a lot of power. So it's just a good card to have. 3 Daring Poros, 3 Trifarian Glory Seekers. You just want to be on board to be able to contest Annie and Kaisa in the early game. 3 Call the Weeks, it basically fixes a ton of your bad matchups. Call the Week going second turn 1 is like a legitimate play that you can make against certain green decks that are running Grove of the God Willows, just so that you're getting on board first before them. Hidden Blade is an all-star. 2 mana kill something is really what you're using it for most of the time. You can use it for draw, but the more efficient and like more effective way of using Hidden Blade ended up just being killing things for 2 mana. You were mostly using it just to it was like a 2 to 3 point flip whenever you wanted to use Hidden Blade in the mid game. If it's something like accelerate Kaisa into a point and they don't have a way to protect Kaisa, and you don't have a way to kill Kaisa on the following turn, so they would conquer, and then you would not be able to hold, you would not be able to conquer the following turn, and they would hold the following turn. So it's like a 3-point swing, and that's like kind of when you were pretty happy to Hidden Blade the Kaisa's coming in. That was like use for Hidden Blade in the mid game, and then the end game you're just using it to close out games. Something like Singularity plus Hidden Blade was really, really strong to just get a ton of defenders off of battlefields, and you know, hitting the Hidden Blade against the Viride, which is also quite good as well. 3 Call to Glories were really good, just for having reaction speed spells. Like otherwise you literally don't have anything in the deck that you can play reactively, so it was just a nice to have. Faithful Manufacturers, the staple, really, really good. Noxian Drummer, you just wanted more 3-drops, and it was like fine. It dies to half Falling Star, so it really, really sucks into the Kaisa matchup, but it's good into purple matchups. Vanguard Captain is just a nice card to have in the mid game. It has like the pop-off potential with Seal of Unity, which is pretty nice. Other than that, you're just using it in the mid game just to fill up your board with just more bodies that people can deal with. the only deck that was really capable of handling Vanguard Captain was Kaisa, and that's part of the reason why the matchup was so hard. 3 Consult the Past, just because you're able to run 2 seals, or you're running 2 seals in the deck, so a lot of the times you're able to pay the power cost using Seal of Unity instead, and that is basically just a free draw 2, so it was really nice, give you a ton of gas going forward into the game. 3 Sprite Mothers. Sprite Mother is the reason Victor is a deck in Origins. You need to run 3 Sprite Mothers just because it's such a good card. It lets you play the game versus Annie. It lets you play the game against Kaisa, just because they don't really have great ways to protect their units. So if they need to spend resources to get rid of the sprites, you still have the Sprite Mother body behind it, and 3 is very significant. So Sprite Mother is just super good. I ended with 3 Imperial Decrees. I was originally running 2 Imperial Decrees and 1 Grand Stratagem, but eventually I shifted my rune base more and more towards Mind Runes, and because of the 3 yellow cost of Grand Stratagem, I settled with 3 Imperial Decrees in the main board. Vanguard Attendant is just a card that was good enough most of the time. It was good enough into the Annie and Kaisa matchups, and it didn't need you to recycle 2 like Riptide does, so it was just good enough into those decks and was sideboarded out a lot of the time. Except for like specifically the Annie and Kaisa matchups. 1 Riptide just to act as a 4th copy of Singularity. It is like pretty decent in a lot of matchups, but is like kind of bad in a lot of matchups as well. So that's why you're only running 1 copy, and Singularity is the 3 of, just because that card is so good into Kaisa, like Kaisa, Annie, and basically anything except Orange. Because Orange has Unyielding Spirit, and they will sideboard in Unyielding Spirit if you show them Singularity, just because they're always going to have it in the sideboard, because Kaisa is a really good deck. Sideboard was 3 Facebreakers, just because you needed more answers for Vi Ride the Wind, and Facebreaker is actually just a pretty decent card when you're playing against decks that just run large bodies instead of lots of small bodies. Shen. 1 Shen, because you don't want to be drawing into multiple Shens. It's just a card that's like nice to have sometimes. It breaks the math in a lot of green matchups, as long as they're not running, like, as long as it's not against Master Yi and they have Primal Strength. That's like the only time Shen really struggles. But other than that, it like is big enough to beat over multiple buff spells like 2 on guards or 2 disciplines or something like that. 1 more Riptide Rex. This is for the Kaisa matchup. And then 1 Grand Stratagem for Aurora and Orange matchups, things like Set. And you can also put it in against like Yi and Ari as well. And yeah, any other Orange decks that are in the meta as well. And then 2000 Telewatchers, just for the Kaisa matchup as well. It's also nice just into other matchups that you don't really want to be running Vanguard Attendants or like Call to Glory in, or like even Sprite Mother. So this is like really good into Yi, into Set. It helps fix those matchups. So this deck is kind of jack of all trades, loses to a lot of like the good decks, but it has like 100% win rate into all like the tier 2 and below decks, and then the sideboard helps to fix a lot of the matchups in the better decks. It ran 5 yellow runes and 7 blue runes. The reason you're running 7 blue runes is because this deck really likes to be at 7 mana, cast a big spell, and then play a recruit. Because you're running 3 Singularities and 1 Riptide, if you were at 6 and 6, there is going to be some point in the game in which you have 6 yellow runes and 1 blue rune. If you are at 7 blue runes, you can only maximally be at 5 yellow runes, and you will always have 2 blue runes if you're at 7 mana. Which means if you're at 7 mana, you can always play Singularity or Riptide plus a recruit. Always. It also, just guarantees that you're playing Sprite Mother in the early game, which is, nice as well. Battlefields, Trifarian War Camp. I really warmed up to Trifarian War Camp as I got more and more experienced with Victor. Originally, I thought it was just good enough, but it is a star battlefield. It is actually really good. The biggest point about War Camp is your ability to hold onto it in a lot of green matchups. You can't really hold War Camp in Annie, Kaisa, Darius, stuff like that. You can't really hold War Camp in that, but against things like Set, Yi, those matchups that you kind of struggle with, Trifarian Warcamp is like a total game breaker. You only need to like set up on Warcamp for the entire game, and then break the other battlefield once, and you'll win the game. Valma's Lair was like the going second battlefield into Annie. Originally, like when I was first building out this deck list, it was Zonwarns, just because I wanted a little bit better cycling through like the Kaisa matchups and stuff. But once Annie's started running like Scrap Heap and just popping up more in the meta, Zonwarns became more of a liability than it was an asset. So I switched it to Valma's Lair just to help deal with Annie, and it helps in the Kaisa matchup anyways, just because they're not able to like run in with Kaisa and then like run her back the following turn to reconquer the next turn after that. So it was like a good enough battlefield, and you didn't really mind it too much because you're just throwing recruits into there. They're dying anyways, so it's like not a huge deal. And Arena's Greatest was like the going first battlefield, just because this deck does actually run quite fast because of Sprite Mother and Vanguard Captain and stuff like that. This deck runs quite fast, so Arena's Greatest helps to just beat everything that's slower than it. My win rate on Arena's Greatest was so high. It was probably like 70 or like 75%. Because Arena's Greatest is probably one of the strongest battlefields in the game, or in Origins at least. This is kind of like the updated matchup chart that I kind of quickly put together. Anything in like the 60-40 and like the 55-45 range is like kind of like coin flippy. Like I'm not actually 100% sure where that goes. I put Victor into 70-30 just because I don't think the typical Victor lists are able to beat my list. And also Victor players generally aren't going to be that skilled. And then other than that, I moved Lee Sin and Leona down from 70-30 to 60-40. They're actually like pretty reasonably difficult matchups. Like when I was talking in the matchup video, like Lee Sin, I imagined to play like bad Master Yi, but Master Yi is a bad matchup for us, so it is like not insignificant how the matchup like plays out. So I'll put some respect on Lee Sin. I think he's probably 60-40. Like it's still a winning matchup, but I can like realistically see how you could lose. And then Leona also went to 60-40 from 70-30. The reason is just because Zenith Blade is like probably one of the best cards I've ever seen. Like the Zenith Blade is, I didn't realize it was action speed. So it's basically Ride the Winds on Leona, which is like really, really good. Leona is really like a lot better at holding battlefields than Annie is. So if you're able, or like and Yasuo as well. So if your opponent, if you're like running in to try and kill something, and then they ride the winds over with like a Leona or like a set Kingpin or something into that battlefield, there's like a very, very low chance that you're able to kill it the same turn, unless you're able to use Hidden Blade. But even then, like Hidden Blade gets defied. So Leona has actually has like a lot of tools to deal with Victor. I was like really, really impressed last time I played against Leona. But even then, like she's still a bad deck. The problem is Call of the Week still destroys Leona very, very hard, and sprites are very good against Leona, and Imperial Decree is really good against Leona. So, and Watcher is really good against Leona. So I still think it's a 60-40 matchup, but I was really, really surprised last time I played it. It was really close. So I'll put some respect on the name. I put Ahri in 55-45. I don't know. I think like Ahri, Darius, Teemo, Yasuo are all decks that I'm not really sure if they should be 60-40 or 55-45. My win rates into them are very, very good, other than Teemo. But I don't know, like, I don't know where they should be, I guess. Set I actually put at 50-50. I think this matchup is like actually kind of playable. Imperial Decree, Grand Stratagem, and Riptide Rex and Watcher are all like very, very good in this matchup. You like take out, when I was playing against Singularity, I took out Call to Glory, I took out Singularities, and I put in the entire sideboard, and it was very, very, very effective. Set players are like want to invest very deeply into battlefields just because Set Kingpin is so strong, but they have like a very hard time dealing with wideboards. So if you're able to get like one strong Imperial Decree and kill everything, they can only save one unit. So the matchup is pretty playable. Set's units are still really, really sticky, so it is difficult to remove them, but if you can get a foothold in the game without Set like just annihilating you in like the early and mid game, then it's like quite a playable matchup. Annie Yi, I think, are both difficult. I put Yi from 4060 to 4555 because I guess I just learned how to play the matchup a little bit better. You do need to just play it slower and really invest into one battlefield instead of trying to double conquer. And then the matchup is like pretty playable, and then Watcher helps fix the matchup as well. So I think it's like not that bad of a matchup after playing it a lot more. Kaisa is still 4060. I mean, like, you know, the stats speak for themselves. Kaisa is my worst matchup, so that's just how it goes. Questions or feedback? Anything? This is like pretty much the end of the video. If you have any questions, anything you're curious about for my Origins stats, just ask away in the comment section. I'll do my best to answer them. I didn't track everything. Like, I didn't track win rates on die rolls or anything like that. If that's something you're interested in seeing for Spirit Forged, I'll make a note of it. I'll add a new column to my stats sheet and try to keep that in there as well for my Spirit Forged stats. I would like to do this type of video for each set nearing the end. And I had a little fun fact for you guys. My game win rate into Misfortune is 18-2. So this is a 90-10 matchup approximately over the sample size of 20 games, which I think is like a decent sample size. So 90-10 matchup for Misfortune Aurora. My longest win streak was 24 best of threes in a row. And it was sandwiched by Kaisa's. Kaisa's lost to Kaisa on each side of the win streak, and has lost to the same Kaisa player on the win streak. But other than that, it was 24 best of threes in a row. I won 6 events in a row from that. If tiebreakers, so there was a period of time, basically like a couple from launch until like 2 to 3 weeks ago, tiebreakers were based on game 1% and not based on resistance, aka opponent match 1%. If tiebreakers were based on opponent match 1%, I would have top 8'd the 78 player tournament that I got 11th at. I had the highest opponent match 1%, but I did not have the highest game 1% because I went 3-0. So I went 5-2 in the 7-round Swiss. 3 of my opponents made it into top 8. So my opponent match 1% was crazy high. It was crazy high. I would have made top 8, and that would have been sick because I would have a 100% top 8 rate at skirmishes for this season. But oh well, that's how it is. It was game win percent, and that's just how it was. And then you might have noticed I only had 1 draw in the entire set of Origins, and it was my first ever Nexus Night game. It was Victor into Ari, and we drew because we went to time. And if the ties were counted the same way that they are, the same way that they were, which was whoever has the more points wins, I would have won that game. I was up by 1 point at the end of the turn 5, but unfortunately, the store was just doing if it's a draw, it's a draw. So that's my only ever draw. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know if there's anything else you'd like to see, or if you have any questions. Thanks for watching.